got Luffy ambition, king of the rappers, the mission.
What's up, gang? It's Murata Music with 3-piece TCG, Big Beard TCG, and 2D. I'm coming at you guys with my first solo tier list. Now, I ain't done one of these in forever, and I have been a self-identified tier whore since my early days in fighting games. Give me the best. I want to know how the game's supposed to be played at its top level, and then I'll work my way back and find something silly and goofy to mess around with, right? So before we get into that, let's smash that like button, finger pop that subscribe, turn on the bell, go down in the comments. I can't wait to hear what I got right, what I got wrong. What are you saying differently? All right. So this is the OP08 tier list, and typically, you know, back in the gap, all we would have to go off of was One Piece top decks, right? And One Piece top decks is going to just give us the lists that have been winning over in the East, right? And it's going to give us a good example of what to expect because they're essentially 3 months into the future, okay? Well, the thing about that is that here in recent times, they have banned Enies Lobby, right? And have also just flat out banned Law, starter deck Law. These cards were going to be, I'm going to show 100 entries. These cards were going to be, or especially Law was going to be a monster in OP08, right? And honestly, that's why I wasn't very excited for 08. I didn't do a lot of 08 videos. You guys notice I've been going straight to OP09 because I've just been like, yo, like, who gives a shit? Like, it's going to be either A, they're not going to touch Law and we're just going to have to deal with it, right? Or B, they're going to overcorrect and we're going to get the brunt of it for the next 3 months until 9 comes out. And frankly, when I heard about what was being released in 9, I was so much more excited. However, finding out that Enies Lobby had gotten banned, so that's a micro nerf against Lucci, and then that Law is just completely gone, and that's how we get our entire meta. Our entire 08 meta is going to be as such. That makes things very interesting. We are going to get a basically a corrected OP08 meta. So I got everything lined out for you right here, right? And you know, there's a large percentage. You know, I'm scrolling through the percentages so you guys are seeing in real time with me what has been getting the most buckets, right? Goodness gracious. And we know that before we even talk about it, we know that Law was S tier, or best deck in format. Best deck in format. But obviously he's gone now. So let's get into it. Let's go over the tiers, okay? So going over the tiers, we got best dick in format. And while this will not be exclusive to one, because I do not believe there is just one, it is a fun double entendre where I get to say the word deck and you don't know, am I talking about a stack of cards or a stacked male reproductive organ? And I live for these moments. Don't take it away from me. Next, oh, and again, this won't be exclusive to one, but this is going to be basically the winners, the tournament winners, right? Real quick before I go to the next whatever tier is that I'm not saying if you play one of these deck lists, right, if you copy and paste that you automatically win. I used to have that misconception as a kid where, oh, all I gotta do is copy this magical recipe and I'm gonna come in first place. No, it just means that if 1,000 people get together, the person piloting this deck, the lucky contestant piloting this deck, may be the one that gets to pilot it all the way through, you know, 10 wins or however. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, pilot difference, but there's also, you got to know what you're doing with your cards. You got to see your cards. You got to see the right opponent. Anyways, now we're going to move over to Always a Bridesmaid. Always a Bridesmaid is dedicated for those top 32, those top 16, but never the one, never the absolute one. And you'll have a lot of those, I feel like, in this meta, definitely last meta. Decks that come to mind were like your Reijus and Peronas of it feels like yesteryear, but you know, some time ago, right? Anyways, then you got They Won With What? And They Won With What is just these decks a bit rogue, but every once in a while, they know what they're doing, they see their cards, and they don't see one of their many crippling weaknesses. And my best example that I will always, the hill I will kill on, it's not really a controversy, but when I went to Nationals this past January, in the top 4, okay, we all knew going into it, number 1 was Sakazuki. Then it was between Ino and Katakuri, because Katakuri could definitely beat Sakazuki, right? So those were your big 3. You had Sakazuki, then you had Yellow running crazy, right? And then you did have Luffy, Purple Luffy, because he could blow out Yellow, and if the tide was right, he could roll over Sakazuki. Everything had to be perfect though, right? But in the top 4, you had a Zoro and an RP Luffy, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, how did a Zoro make it through a sea of yellow? Like, how? How does a Zoro even beat a yellow? How does a red purple Luffy even beat Ino? Like, how does red purple Luffy and Zoro beat Ino? It's not yellow in general. I'm talking about Ino. How do they beat Ino? And then how did you not see an Ino? You see what I'm saying? That kind of shit. It's not taking anything away from the player, because you still have to be the right player. You still got to know what you're doing. But you got to get pretty fucking lucky to not see your just like shut out weakness. So anyhow, They Won With What? It can be done, but will it be? It's going to take a perfect storm. Copium addicts. Copium is a epidemic that has been spreading across the One Piece community for some time now, possibly every card game. And that is when guys are just like, yeah, but if this, and this, they're worse than the They Won With What, because it's like, yeah, but if I get this and this and that, they've been having a conversation with themselves for too long. Too long. You need to talk to somebody else. I'm not gonna say touch grass, but touch grass. You need to come out of your echo chamber. Maybe you and your friend have been y'all been theorizing for a little too long. It's not gonna work out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But understand that in this game and every game, if the stars align for your deck, yes, your deck will win. What defines a great deck from an okay deck is how often do the stars align for you. That's when you find consistency, right? And then we just got the Cuck tier. Cuck tier is reserved for the people who just like to show up to locals or regionals even after all the trouble it takes and just watch their deck get fucked right in front of them. They want to look their deck in the eye. They want to look their leader in the eye while it's just getting, and they want to hold his hand. It's a strange life. It's a strange life for that Cuck tier. Cuck tier / it's just going to be unlisted. I'm not going to sit here and go over every single one of them. Because if you're running those, then you're just done. Like you get what I'm saying? But some guys, they refuse to play meta. I don't know why. Me personally, maybe it's because I have that childhood trauma of needing to be worth something. You know what I'm saying? If I show up and I'm gonna be somewhere for 3 to 4 hours. That's just a local, and because we got larger locals these days, or if I'm gonna go to a regional and be playing cards all fucking day, dog, I would prefer to have a winning record instead of getting my shit pushed in by something I know is fucking poppycock, right? So yeah, the Cuck tier. I also have a theory that if guys when you play meta, there's an expectation for you to do well, right? And I think people don't want to go into a game with that expectation of doing well, because one, we all know that you can't just pick the best deck in the format and automatically win every game. because if you could, then why would you pass up on literally thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars worth of cards should you get into every regional? Just get in every regional, play this, and you automatically win. That's how they talk, but you don't automatically win. So maybe they don't like the competition. Maybe they like to play low stakes, and that's a personal decision. Good for you. But yes, that's Cuck tier. So with all this being said, I'm going to have to put timestamps in this and watch it at 1.5, possibly 2.0 speed for your enjoyment. This is Murado Music's fucking 08 predictive tier list. Okay, let's go. I'm starting with Black and Yellow Luffy. Yes, so I'm going to say as a Black Yellow Luffy player that this guy is one of the best dicks in format. Okay, why? Well, as unexciting as this sounds, it's the same fucking deck as 07. It's the same damn deck, and it hasn't changed. It has a little bit, but the thing is that familiarity is going to give an edge to the pilots of this deck that have been piloting it for so long. You know what I mean? It feels like years, but it's really just months. But yeah, it has evolved. It has evolved. It's not just, you know, run 4 of each big and little with Gecko, 12 2Ks, and call it a day. There's a lot more tech. We got 5-finger pistol, which some people use. I'm not really fucking with. Ice Ages have been great. Kuzan, both 4-drop. Some people run 4-drop. Some people run 10-drop. And, you know, I've been even playing with Ishos now. And all of these cards, what they have done is have, what is it? Anyways, it's a tech. Yeah, they've been teching to make their worst matchups better. And with this, I've been able to finally beat my first Jewelry Bonnie in tournament, which was great. You know what I mean? Instead of just coming close and just not being able to finish. Giggity. But yeah, no, the introduction of Isho, dropping an 8-drop on curb, getting rid of 2 cards, and then swinging, and having a 9K body on board. If you need to attach one, you can attach one, and then, you know, Rocket Luffy, almost everything on the board with the exception of their bigs, which you would be holding onto your Ice Ages for. It changes the game. It changes the game. He's also the deck you want to see if you're going against the other top deck in another top deck in format, best deck in format, and that's Lucci. You get a great matchup into black. It's not a steamroll that everybody wants to make it out to be. However, if you're gonna see 10 opponents, you wouldn't mind seeing 10 of them, right? You have to be mindful of their Ishos and, you know, them getting out 9K boss monsters before you, just different stuff. But if you know how to pilot, if you know how and when to cycle your life, you can create a insurmountable lead and then just continue to capitalize on that via your sabos and your bigs that you play out. So Rocket Luffy, Black Yellow Luffy, I feel like has a great matchup. It also has a pretty good matchup into yellow. Things can go wrong for you in yellow. They can see their cards and you just don't see yours and everything like that. But consistency is key. And I believe that this is a fairly consistent deck that can deal with that. And Ishoing and Enel and getting 2 cards out of their hand is quite devastating, especially when you get rid of 2 of their bigs, which is fucking nuts when it happens. Anyhow, I think Black Yellow Luffy is in this tier. It deserves this tier. It might be its year. I don't know. We shall see. But it's one of the best dicks in format. Before I go any further, I am not going to be playing this game where, well, this deck, they're both in the same one, but this deck is better than this one, so I'm going to put them like this. Nah, dog. If this deck is better than the rest of the decks in this tier, then it gets its own tier. You get what I'm saying? Then you're tier 0, or then you're just a tier above. Because I'm not going to play that game. It literally doesn't make sense. If you're the best, if you're better than every deck to the right of you, then you should be up a tier. We all clear? All right. So anyways, the next deck we're going to talk about is Lucci. Boot Scoot Lucci. Now, while Lucci has had a Innie's lobby be taken away from them, they've gotten Jack. And Jack doesn't require too much. I mean, you're talking about a character that can turn sideways. Yes, you trash a card, but you get rid of a 3 cost or lower. And this deck doesn't really have an issue bringing cards down to the cost of 3, even with Innie's lobby being gone. It's kind of it's a lateral movement, but not so very much. I think it's just as good, if not better, with the addition of, you got Jack, you've got Who's who is a 5 cost 2K, and they're able to, their on playability is also, busting up the board as well. So the thing about Lucci is, while it doesn't have a great matchup into Luffy, it pretty much has an even and winning matchup against everything else on the board. And in this slower meta, it's able to just minus, get rid of. Oh, you want to play a big card? I'm gonna get rid of that and establish my own body. So I really do feel like Jack is going to be a great addition to this deck, and I'm interested in seeing how exactly people are going to get rid of him, because it's not that he is a insurmountable obstacle to overcome, because he is a 7 for 8, so he is 8k. But if you're looking to pop him, he goes up to 11, and that's a tall order, right? That's a tall order. So I don't, and if you did want to get rid of him, it would have to be after he's turned sideways, etc. And you have to swing into him. You have to have a body to swing into him. So, you could do that, but that's your turn. That's your turn of your Dawn investment, right? So anyways, I'm just excited to see how people are going to be getting around Jack, how it's going to be doing into the format. I do believe he belongs in best Dixon format. Another best Dixon format that I really think deserves to be here is Jewelry Bonnie. Jewelry Bonnie has a great matchup into Luffy. As we all know, that Luffy is the one that's got to deliver in that matchup. Also, real quick, the thing about this deck and this deck as well, but there's a bit of a consistency issue with Lucci. But the thing about these decks is it takes a lot of brain power, right? And I say brain power, there's just a lot of things you can do wrong, frankly. There's a lot of things you can do wrong. And when executed properly, if the consistency, if you see your cards, you can kind of overcome anything. And I know it sounds like I went back and talked about Lucci more, but I'm actually talking about Bonnie and doing that, because Bonnie doesn't have those problems. Bonnie is Searcher on 1. You're gonna play your fucking blocker that gives you +1 Dawn on your second turn, right? Then you're gonna play your what's his name, Clavendish. Then you're gonna play your Basil Hawkins, and then you're getting into your bigs. Then you're playing your Kid blocker and cheating out your Como Sedice, your little Don Quixote. You're playing your Zoro, you're playing your Doflamingo. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, oh my god, how do you play this deck? It's not a big deal. The hardest part about this deck is collecting the cards, okay? Like, literally, it's not a big deal. However, they do get the addition of Carrot in this match, and Carrot is going to be a problem. Carrot is going to make a fairly consistent deck that much more consistent and threatening, because she's a 5 for 6 body, and on play something 7 or less cannot become unrested, and when they attack, something 7 or less stays rested. So you pair that with a leader whose ability is already turning a card sideways, keeping most decks swinging once per turn, and then now you're gonna keep everyone else on sideways. It's tough to overcome. I've played against them when they have 2 carrots on the field, and you got to get rid of those things, man. You got to change up your game plan, right? So yeah, I feel like Bonnie's going to be in a good spot. And another reason why I bring up the simplicity of the deck is because when you got to play 10 games or more at regionals or nationals, if you don't know what you're doing with one of these 2 decks and you make a mistake with one of these 2 decks, that's it. Game over. Thanks for playing. Let's go gambling, right? However, with Bonnie, it's going to be easier to pilot for that many games. And while you may not be in an advantageous state against everybody, you know what to do and you will be consistent. So, and I feel like Luffy's going to be very popular coming up. So having a deck that counters a lot of Luffys who are new to Luffy, they're playing him just because he's the new hotness. That's who you're going to really catch slipping. And you're going to beat some experienced Luffy players who just don't see their cards. So, great deck. Law. It's not even fair. It's not fair, but we're going to put him there because it's fun. Okay, Zoro. Zoro. I'm going to tell you like this. I'm going to make a case. Make a case? Okay. I'm going to put him here for right now. I don't know. We're in a slower format. And while we're in a slower format, I think that a hot red rushing deck could fuck up the meta, could come for people hard. However, I can't tell you how the zoo is going to go, because while we are out of Law, and Law was the one who was minusing, or you know what I mean, bottom decking basically this guy's whole board, it remains to be seen if they can overcome some insurmountable odds. You got a 9K leader, you got somebody who's popping everything you put out there, you got somebody who's resting and able to attack into everything you play, because you're not playing big units with the exception of Dragon. But I feel like there's a looming presence for Zoro that I think he can even be in the best dicks in format. It's gonna take some figuring out. I don't know. It's there though. It's there. Okay, Doflamingo. All right. So the thing about it is, Doflamingo. Once we get to 8.5, you know what? I've been playing all the 8.5 lists. We'll just throw them in there. We're getting it a month later, anyways, right? Doflamingo is up here, dog. Before the starter deck, yo no sé. I think he's good. I think he's always a bridesmaid. Just because he's going to have a good matchup into Luffy, just because you have pudding and you have access to removal, bottom deck removal. That is what's going to make you good against Luffy. And, you know, you can get rid of bigs out over here. You know, you can red rock whatever you need. And you can, you can red rock what you need, and you can gravity blade what you can't get rid of, you know, the multiple smaller units. But anyways, it's all about him going wide and all outside. But once he gets that starter deck, it's a whole nother conversation, man. We're dropping 3 cards in one turn at some points, and they're menacing bodies that you have to deal with. I do believe that a good Dofi pilot, and there are some out there that have been playing Dofi since its inception, right? And these guys are coming up. Their stock is rising, number 2. This deck will become not just meta, but best dick in format. And those who have been piling it for that time in its dark ages are going to be rising to the top, right? So that's what I got to say about Dofi. My Perona. So my Perona, I feel like I'm gonna leave it here while I talk about it. All right. So my Perona, I feel like it was a big winner from this Innie's Lobby getting banned and Law getting nerfed, because Perona had a great matchup into Luffy, at least the previous Luffy list, and even matchups against everybody else. And so I'm really looking to see what this deck can do and will do. I don't know how many dedicated pilots are on it. I don't see anything holding it back from making a top 32. I don't know what will push it over to win the tournament right now. And that's why I think I can comfortably sit it here, because I believe that as cards get introduced in these starter decks, it's not seeing any brand new or more support. So Perona's mainly benefiting from the lack of what once was, more so than any new tools. So with the absence of any new tools, I believe it comfortably sits here, and it could. I wouldn't be surprised if it won. You know what I mean? But I don't know that it's going to perform at the same numbers that these decks will be, especially with that 8.5 meta. So anyhow, This is all predictive. I don't know. Reiju. Let me tell you something about Reiju. I believe in Reiju. I believe in Reiju because I have some talented Reiju players around me, and I've seen just how high rolly this deck can be. I've seen how it can win. I've seen how it can go through multiple matches and continue. But I've also seen it takes a talented pilot. It takes somebody who's been on that dick, who's been riding that dick for a while now. But with the absence of Law and Eni's lobby getting getting gone, and Homeboy getting toned down a bit, it's got a good match into some different decks. I am interested in seeing how it plays out. It's on the cusp of always a bridesmaid still, but I do believe that Reiju can do some things. I'm just thinking, but I've seen it win, man. I've seen it do well and pick up where some of these decks were missing. You know what I mean? Win the matches that some of these decks had lost in the previous round. Okay. We got our first little oddball here. Whitebeard. Now look, if we're talking about Whitebeard 8.5, even with 8.5, I just don't know. I'm feeling like I'm going to have to comfortably put him in they won with what? Because Whitebeard at this point in time, it's going to take, going back to what I said, it's the cards it's knowing what you're doing. Do you see your cards, and do you see the right opponent? So Whitebeard is going to have to be doing big dodging on these blue decks. You got to remember, these blue decks got Perfume Lafleur. You know, I know this deck runs it. And that allows you to, it literally costs nothing since it gives you the cost and power, right? And you're swinging through targets. It's also, blue decks have access to Pudding, and I believe that Pudding is the single most like nullifying card to Whitebeard. Whitebeard likes to get 12 and 13 cards at the end of the game and do what it wants to do. These decks run 2 puddings. They see one of them, they run it, and from 12 to 2, and you're just a 6K leader after that. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's a they won with what. However, if it's firing on all cylinders, it's a 6K leader with an access to very impressive board. It does have that new Whitebeard card that, you know, turns sideways. It's a 7 for 8, and it's not gonna get hit, like attacked into by anything, unless they really want to spend their turn swinging at it. But it also KOs anything that's basically been played from the previous turn of 5,000 power or less. So I think it's got that going for it. But they won with what? It could still happen. Whitebeard still gets buckets. All right. Now for the Gecko, man. So Gecko, I feel like, is always a bridesmaid. And I don't think that it can't be a bride. I just think that while this one has everything in the world, it just has more tools and more, you know, if Gecko still had access to Great Eruption, I think it would just be best deck and format. I'd probably still be running Gecko. But you know, because of that draw one, etc. But because the Tempest kick is typically reserved for Lucci, because while Gecko can get to that point where he does get to put cards into the, you know, trash, he does get the chance to build up a pretty decent trash at some point. It's not part of his game plan. It's not what he consistently does. I've won the game and not had 10 cards in my trash, which means any and all Tempest kick would have just been a draw 1 card, which I don't really need like that. You get what I'm saying? So, however, it can go wide and it can still fuck yellow, and it can still minus and get rid of a lot of decks. I had somebody rage quit on regionals when I went against a Bonnie, and that was just because I saw my Ice Ages. You know what I'm saying? Because I was popping shit. I was mayor of Pop City there. So I think Gecko's good. I would not be surprised to see it in a top 32, and wouldn't be surprised to see it win every once in a while. But I feel like for the most part, it's going to always be a bridesmaid. What the fuck is this? Okay, water break. All right, Nami. You can't deny what Nami has been doing, and that's winning. Nami has been winning. It has been winning everyone that it's entered, right? But this isn't a tier 0 kind of deal. It is just one of the best dicks in format. Nami's got it. She's showing it right there in her staff. It's a great deck into the slower meta. I think its natural counter is going to obviously be Zoro's going to be swinging for the fences. But there's multiple builds coming on too that I've been finding that are utilizing different cards, even throwing some of the cards back in there, like Homeboy who was the chef, and if it hits you, -7 cards. And the same thing with the Nami's mom or adopted mother. If they hit you, same deal, 7 cards. And also when they get KO'd, -3, they get to discard 3 cards or draw 3. I forget which it is, but anyhow, there's been experimentary deck list out there that they've been really hooping with, and then you got the tried and true what's been winning, right? So I think Nami's definitely got a place. I am not as concerned as people once were that it's just going to be a Nami fest, because I mean, frankly, it takes talent. It takes an experienced person playing the list, and they still got to see their cards. So, you know what I'm saying? You discard those Kayas and you're fucking Paya. So, yeah, that's it. I think Nami's pretty good in this. Now, I know I told you all I had some takes. But let me tell y'all something, man. Purple Luffy. I'm going to make a case. Purple Luffy is back. Purple Luffy is back. All right. Let me tell y'all why. Get the fucking mic adjusted. My man Purple Luffy is back. Why? Because Purple Luffy, when controlling, and okay, now I already sound like coping, but the way I play it, you control Dawn, you get rid of this guy. You get rid of this guy. You get rid of her effects. If you control Dawn, if you Magellan, right? And perfect curve, Purple Luffy, say that 3 times fast. I'm beating this guy a lot. I'm beating them a lot. I'm having a little bit of trouble with them. However, when I'm really controlling, when I'm perfect curve and I'm controlling, they never get their big threats out. I'm able to pop and swing, and I'm beating them. I don't even know how I'm beating them, because when I'm Magellaning, you know what I'm saying? They're already at low Dawn. Now they're at lower Dawn. I'm going wide, so fuck Nami. Zoro. I don't like Lok's Zoro, or Lok's Red Luffy in particular. Red, it's going to have a little bit of a tough time. However, and that's just because of the rush down and stuff like that. But I've still won. Yeah, so I think Purple Luffy can do it. I believe. This is my personal copium addict deck, and I believe, and I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. This is my list, and I'm happy to share. But yeah, I mean, literally everything I just said is valid, though. Everything I just said is valid. The way I play mine, I also play mine with Bond Clay, so I'm ramping for free, and that leaves me with 1 extra life in the tank to take a hit by one of these guys. I've been experimenting with the Maria and Big Luffy deck list, and having that extra life allows me to take one so that I can at least swing 6, so that I can be at 4 the next turn, so that I can, play Maria, and then, everything's been really good so far with my testing. I think I've showed a video in 09 with him, and I'll probably show the other one at a later date. But I've just been feeling good. It goes great into yellow as well, which I think people are still going to be fucking coping with and rocking with. But yeah. So I've had great experiences with this deck. I've also been piloting this deck for a long time, so we shall see. Purple Luffy for the win. Next, we got Katakuri. Katakuri, I'm going to put here comfortably and always a bride. Always a bridesmaid. Yeah. The thing is that yellow, any deck that's going to depend on its triggers, cards that are outside of your control, and strategizing, I mean, outside of putting him in the deck, is going to have a tough time. He inherently has a great ability where you attach 1, you swing for 7, and that's going to bust up anybody in this format with the exception of Black Yellow Luffy once they get rolling. However, he has access to the Big Mom package, which is great for him. Terrible for everyone else. If he sees his curb, which is just, you know, Searcher, then fucking Parasparrow, then Gadatsu, then Big Mom, then fucking Katakuri, Big Mom, Big Mom, Big Mom. You know what I'm saying? Like if he sees what he needs, he's Big Hoop City. You know, he's not really worried. But it does take a little planning, and they can do that. They're having access to tons of trigger cards, in which case he can use his ability to fix that life pile. So yes, Enel I think is in the same place. So here's the thing about Enel. I don't think that Enel is as oppressive as it once was. It still is aggravating. It still is cheap. It's still as frustrating. Did I already say that? And I still don't want to play against it personally. But do I think when I take a step back and I Google Maps zoom all the way out, am I going to be seeing this deck consistently winning and topping tournaments like #1 spot? I don't know. Why? Because this deck has developed in a way that it can, you know, push it out. You know, I can see my power up Luffy E-shows. I'm able to minus and KO with Rocket Luffy now. I just personally know how to play against it better. And I think I hate to say, oh, well, once people learn how to play it, it's not going to be good anymore. Because, I mean, that's part of it. If you don't know how to play against it, then that's why the deck is good, right? But this deck can beat it. This deck can beat it. This deck can beat it. Yeah. This deck goes wide, automatic win, goes wide. So you see why he's not led in the club? You see why he's not led in the club? Because these decks can fucking circle jerk it, but this guy, he can't necessarily just beat out all of these decks on a consistent basis. I'm not saying it can't be done by a talented Enel player, but I don't think he has winning matchups into all of these, because Purple Luffy is the best deck in the format. This is gonna be, I think this is gonna be, and they won with what? Because it does have Cavendish. It will have like Carrot. I don't know if people are fucking with Carrot. And I don't even know if people are running this deck like that. But Trafalgar Law is still in the format. He's still there. He's still in the meta. He's still having a good time. I just think that it gets done up and out. It gets put away too conceivably by so many decks. Where there once was a time where these two decks were like, how do you beat this deck? I can't conceive how we beat this deck. Well, I can beat this deck. 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 You know what I'm saying? Actually, that might have a little trouble with Nami might have a little trouble with that rush down. But you see what I'm saying? This is the consistency we're starting to build. Okay. Yo. I will give you guys this. I will give you guys this. Maybe I'm coping by giving you guys Homegirl. Or maybe it's Copium Addicts. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? Copium addiction. Like, yeah. If it sees everything it needs and the right opponent and everything, it can win. I don't know, man. It's riding that line. You know what? I'm gonna put it here, and I'll tell you why, my Copium Addicts. Because this deck, this card, this leader is too good for Copium Addicts, in the sense that Copium Addicts across the board are they're going in circles, and nothing is working for them. This card, this leader has won some locals at least. I don't fucking know, but it does have some things going for it, and it does get some new cards. I'm gonna let him have it. But because I'm letting y'all have that, I'm gonna put Rebecca in Always a Bridesmaid, baby. I mean, I'm sorry, but this deck is fucking low-key hooping. So in a slower meta, what we do We have that Dressrosa package. We got those blue cards removals, right? So we're getting rid of, they play a 10, we play a 6. That's the start over. You know what I mean? But even better than that, what I've been doing with Rebecca, and I do need to make a video with it already, is you got that 7-drop Luffy. You play that out. Either it gets aggroed out and they spend a turn getting rid of it, or it sticks. And then anything they play, because they can attack standing rated characters, you're big hooping, you're big swinging. That means you're getting cards out of their hand. So that's, and you're able to minus and KO, which is things that the yellow doesn't like. You're able to remove. I think you would have a little bit of problems here, but your cards can go wide. I do typically have a wide board, but I haven't been playing a lot of Zoros. Bottom decking sucks. So it's got some tools. It's got some tools for the fools. And having Luffy go up, 6K, and then double attack, and that claps a lot of these people. It really does, especially doing it twice. You know what I mean? That claps a lot. So Rebecca is good. She did get some support and some more cards that minus. Dressrosa package is as good as it's been. So yes. Now we got Marco. With 8.5, I'm comfortably putting Marco into Always a Bridesmaid, very comfortably, because I really do believe in the in the plays where you get to have that Whitebeard card, the new Whitebeard stuff, and oh, got a message. Yeah, I do believe in it. I do believe in its ability to last into the deep water. That's all you want to do. You want to last into that deep water. Now, there's multiple builds of that going on. One of it is a more of a pop heavy, Mayor of Pop City kind of deal, and his leader effect definitely lends itself to that, where he minuses 2, and then you play a card that might do the same, and then you play an event card, you're fire fisting everybody, right? Or you minusing 2, you play that Whitebeard out, and he's getting rid of somebody. So his ability lends itself to that very well. And then there's also a Whitebeard package where we're just playing a lot of Whitebeard cards that ace blocker that helps you, filter, and then the ace card that plays out. It's like their Jinbei kind of deal. So I do feel like he's got some tools, and he's got some tools for these fools to go out to the deep and drown them. So obviously, once we get to the end, what the kids all want to see is the Sanji into Whitebeard and Sanji into fucking Dragon, or just whatever the fuck you want to do. Yeah, man, I think he's got a lot of room for creative deck building expression, which is a lot of fun for someone like myself. So I think he's comfortably there. Before, I would put him here. I would put him here. But after the bans and stuff like that, I think he's here. Carrot, as good as Carrot is in some matches, I think they're just they just got a limited card pool. And I think they're going to stay here. I think their cards go better into this deck than the other way around. And because of that, I just think that's where Carrot is. And I don't think they get more support. I just think that's that. This guy, everybody thought he was going to be the one, bro. Everybody, including myself. I was like, yo, this is going to be crazy, purple and black. It's not a big deal. He's not a big deal. I don't even know how many he's won, dude. Like, honestly, I don't even know. Let's see. Yeah. Congratulations to that guy. You know what I mean? Trash-tastic. So anyways, yeah. Hang on. Let's go by the deck profile again. Yeah, so we got that. Back to our shit. Copium addicts. I was being generous. Copium addicts. Actually, Cuck. That's going to be our first Cuck. Our first Cuck is going to be King. Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I have never lost a game to this thing online, and you just rush him down, and he just can't do shit. He doesn't do shit. Sorry. The first Cuck. I'm calling it right now. It's a slower meta. She's only gotten rid of her adversaries, and She's got some crazy bullshit ramp. She can out ramp purple Luffy and red purple Luffy at times. And then the thing is her bigs are playing are manipulating life. Her bigs are saying, hey, you want to trash a life or give me a life? Hey, you want to actually, you don't get a choice. You lose a life, I win, I get a life. Like, she's got access to the big bomb package, and she's ramping crazy. I would not be surprised to see this deck win something. I think it's been slept on. It's been undervalued. Actually, it's been accurate. It's been accurately slept on and undervalued because of the meta that it was. But it's a different day, and I believe this. I believe in this card. I believe that this card can do very well. If you are interested in piloting Pudding, I think you do have a strong place in the conversation. Let's see, Boa and Cuck. Boa, I'm thinking Boa's on someone. They won with what shit. While it has a great matchup into purple Luffy, it's just not the premier blue deck. You if you're running blue, you want to run one of these three. And Boa's waifu. She's waifu forever. That's cool. But I just don't see it. I've even won the last match I played in real life against a Boa that wound up winning Treasure Cup. I won. You know what I mean? It's I learned, part of it is me learning how to play with it. The other part of it is the new cards I have. You know what I mean? So anyhow, it loses to black. The Boa that won at the store regional I was at, it didn't see one Lucci, and its final match was against Jewelry Bonnie. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's they won with what kind of deal. Chopper's a little cuck, dog. Chopper's a little cuck. Maybe a little copium. Nah, I don't know. Maybe copium. I think I'm gonna give him copium. Because frankly, he's just the worst version of Zoro. Zoro's gonna be the one that if you're playing this kind of deck, you're gonna play Zoro. That's just it. So when you hear guys talk, they start to talk about, oh, but if this, yeah, they're coping. Copium addicts. Nothing else needs to be said. They won with what? This will be its only time, and people are like, yeah, I didn't see any support for Calgara and 09. Yeah, you really think they were going to support Calgara outside of 08? I'm surprised they even got announced. Like, are you serious? Like, come on, dog. That puts you in big cope. Now you're in big cope just because of that conversation I remembered. This little fucker, I think it'll always be they won with what? It can work, but how consistent? You know, when people are learning how to play against it, blah, blah, blah. This one's in they won with what as well. Nah, they won with what. I'll give it to them. I'll give it to them. No, you're going to cope. Let's see. I think blue yellow ace is here. I like it. I played against it with my black yellow Luffy, almost lost because it's a natural weakness. There's multiple builds floating around, and I'm very interested in to see what it's going to do in this next meta where, you know, there's no more law, and it is a 9k leader for a lot of time. It does have access to 10 cost ace, which doesn't really feed into its ability, but in a world where you want to kind of go wide, it doesn't go very wide, but it's got some mustard. Maybe it is in copium. But I just believe in it, and I think it's a fun deck to play. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put in copium. And the reason why is because I see these. I have seen your copium. I'm sorry. So I can see your copium. I'm sorry. We've seen these win. You know, yeah. But not at that rate. Not at that rate. So next we got. With 8.5, this is definitely at least here. The consistency this deck attains is unrivaled, and with that Shanks being a 9 cost that kills anything that's sideways, that's great. I wouldn't be surprised to see it win top 32, etc. I just don't know how consistent the winning would be. Actually coming out as number 1 would be. RP Luffy. I want to put RP Luffy here, but I would still be surprised if he won. But let's go through it. It can beat this deck. It can beat this deck. It can beat this deck. It can beat this deck better than that one. The prominence of this one would be what gate kept that. I've beaten them. I've beaten them. It can be a little tough here. This is abysmal. You cannot out ramp it, and then they get rid of what little life you do. It's almost 50-50. You can win. I've won. You can win. Tough. Abysmally tough. It's kind of, it can be rough. And it can either blow this deck out or just not see it. Let's go to Always Bridesmaid. You guys know I'm a RP Luffy diehard fan, but I think it can do it. I think it can at least skate in the top 32, and there have been people who are already doing it. So now, let's give me 1 second. All right. So we got RP Luffy and Always a Bridesmaid. I'm really pulling for it. I am still experimenting with the deck list, using that 9-cost Purple Mom to give us extra life, help us like float around and hang out a little bit longer. I've got some crazy ideas for it that I'll be working out before I show you guys, because I don't want to just waste everybody's time. But I think it can win. Look, it can beat this deck, beat this deck, beat this deck, beat this deck, beat everything beneath it. It can win here. That can be a little tough, but it can win. It can win there. That's pretty tough. That's pretty damn abysmal. Yeah, so this is where I'm thinking it's in the conversation. It belongs in the space. If it could beat multiple decks here, it belongs here. Okay, Dragon is, they won with what? It's just a 1 card. It's just a 1 Dawn extra version of Monkey Luffy starter deck. And the Revolutionary Army package just doesn't go into that card as well as the other decks, and it just is what it is. Sabo is I was real hard with Sabo, partying real hard. I'm surprised I didn't put a video out with him, but I think that he's on the, they won with what? I believe he can beat multiple decks here. But you know, you can get into a Luffy loop, you can get into a Kiko loop, you can loop your way into victories sometimes, but others it's just tough, and it's one of those, you know, things have to work. He is just grazing the copium addicts, but we can do it with him. I actually think this deck is here, dude. I really do. Starter deck Luffy 14. I just put out a video just molly-whopping people with it. I think the toughest matchup was these two right here. However, you know, with different cards added to my thing, you know, the Sabo, then I start to clap these up. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that to be considered. You know, y'all saw me go against Perona. I think that first video was Perona. Frankly, I forgot. I know he was there, and I think I tasted egg and cinnamon. I don't know. But I think that he belongs in the conversation. He also gets access to Jack. You know, he can use Jack too. This is just straight cuck. It's better than most people think. It's not busted. I think this is I think it's they won with what? Cuck. I think it's copium. I think it's copium. I think it's Cuck, and I think the rest are just going to be some cucks. I think the rest are cucks. I'm going through them. Smoker is Cuck, because I'm sorry, dude, like it's tough to I'll give you copium. Settle out of court. Copium. Let's just go straight Cuck. Big Cuck energy. You're the leader of cucks. Cuck. Copium. Copium and copium, and I like George's, so I'm gonna give him copium because I don't think he's winning. This is still dead. Big Cuck energy. I'm not gonna say they won with what. Well, I can't say. It's hard because we have a really good Bella player at our locals. Arno's really good with Bella. I can give him that. I just don't know if in a large scale tournament, when you see a vast variety of characters, you know how that turns out. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give that copium because we're talking about regionals. I think this is another big copium deck. And this is just Cuck and big Cuck energy. Yamato. I think Yamato is in the. They won with what? Problem with Yamato is maybe always a bridesmaid. I'm thinking because it can really bust up some cards. It can bust some leaders up. It is the way I see it is that it is better than these decks, so it's got to belong here, right? Going back to what I was saying before, if it's better than all of these decks, I'm not gonna say it's the best of they want. No, well then it's up here, dog. It'll probably top a tournament. I could see that. Just a different Cuck, huge Cuck, bro. If you want to see fucking Sakazuki just get railed and slammed, rocket. You're not Cuck, you're copium. Your Luffy will never be a Cuck, except that one. You know what? Yeah, Luffy can't be Cuck. Luffy's copium. This is copium, and yeah, there's just so many better. I'll give you copium. Big Cuck, copium, and I'm gonna give you Cuck now, and big Cuck, and I'm gonna give you copium. And Cuck, and these two guys are fucking canceled. I'm gonna make another tier, canceled. But anyways, that's the list, gang. I have been mulling this over for a little bit, so you know I know this went a little long. I had a lot of thoughts on different things, but anyhow, I will say for the copium addicts, copium is your gateway into they won with what, because you know blue and purple are crazy colors to have access to, and red and black. You know, I got a buddy that's always working on some red and black. Y'all know I've been cooking with some red purple kid, and these are all decks that are just missing that tech or that idea to push them into the next tier and then to the next tier. But you got to be a copium addict for that. Anyways, so this is my predictive OP08 format. I don't think I've ever seen so many cards in the best Dixon format. So maybe this is an invalid waste of both of our time, but this is what I'm feeling. So I've been yammering on for a good while now, having some good times with you guys. I do want to hear from y'all, so remember to smash that like button, pop that subscribe, turn on the bell, and let me know in the comments, what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, what would you be doing differently, what am I not seeing? Guys, we also made it past 300 subscribers, so like what, like that's fucking lit, dude. I've been having a great time with y'all, so I appreciate the love. I appreciate any shares and you know, showing the videos and everything like that. But with this one, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and now it's back to y'all. I want to hear what y'all got to say, and comment down below, who are you running, and what are you looking to see? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I forgot, 8.5 Luffy is definitely fucking number one. Last order of business. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Wait, Rod Music with 3P CCG, Big Beard TCG.
Flows like a faucet, swag dripping like a faucet. Dooney fixing, got Luffy ambition, king of the rappers, the mission. I see they got the lights, camera, but no action. They actually fiction.